guys, Veronica here. So real quick, I just want to talk about planting bare root strawberries. Now, if you've never planted bare root strawberries before, there's a little bit of a method here that I like to use to help ensure success. The first thing is to order bare root strawberries from a local family-owned nursery if at all possible, and I'll show you why. So when you get those strawberries from the big box store, you know what I'm talking about, like the perforated hanging bag. A lot of times these roots are totally dry and shriveled up, and this crown might even be tight and shriveled up. And that's not what you're looking for, because you're going to have a really stressed plant on the road to recovery for a while. Instead, I order from a local as possible nursery. These roots are freshly dug within the last couple of weeks, maybe for the season, maybe for my order specifically. And they're just still in really good shape. Now, when I receive them, usually they're wrapped in plastic, and then they're going to be wrapped in damp paper inside of that plastic. When you receive them, if you're not able to plant them immediately, what you need to do is to leave them wrapped in the damp paper, maybe get it a little bit more damp if it's dried out some, and then put them in like a gallon Ziploc or maybe a grocery bag or something, and into the produce drawer in your refrigerator. Now, if you don't have space in there, that's fine, but you want to keep them in a nice cool place where these tops and crowns are not going to start mildewing, because if it's warm and there's humidity building up inside the bag, then these will start to rot and you're going to have a bunch of dead strawberries. So just try to keep them cool and semi-damp until you're ready to plant. Now, just before I plant, what I do is I'll soak the roots for about 20-30 minutes in a solution of either compost tea or vermicompost tea and water. Or today I'm using this Dr. Earth fruit tree fertilizer. It's not sponsored. I just really like the fact that I can get this broad spectrum biological inoculant basically anywhere in the United States at any big box store and have similar results. And I've used it in various states now, and I'm just like, you know what? I feel like this works. It adds beneficial bacteria and some mycorrhizal fungi in addition to the other foods that are included in it. So that soaks for 20-30 minutes. Then I fill a pot halfway. I've cut this out so you can see what I'm doing. And in the meantime, I'm also mixing in a little bit of that food or compost, whatever food source you're working with, especially important in containers, with my soil medium, which I have gotten wet and mixed and gotten it to a point where it's fully hydrated. Now, when we're talking fully hydrated with soil, you're looking for something that if you were to press it, it's going to hold shape. See how it stays in a ball? But if you were to press it really hard, it's not going to have a bunch of water dripping out. That's well-hydrated soil. And so we're not going to press it that hard because we don't want the roots to have to fight to find places to grow. We want them to be able to, very easily push through the pockets in the soil and establish themselves. But also we want to press out any potential air pockets so that you don't have the berry sinking as it's growing and as you water it. And so what I'll do here is I'll just take this well-hydrated soil and I'll build a mound here in the middle of my container up to the fill line. And so however high you're filling the container, if you're doing it right to the edge as this demonstration, then you want to build the mound up to the edge. You can also do this as a trench in like a garden bed, so do just like a long ridge line instead of individual mounds. I'll be doing individual mounds in most of my planting because they're strange container shapes or strange raised bed shapes that are round. And also I did mounds in the green stock in the new one that I just planted with strawberries this way. So once you have a mound built like so, and you don't want to push it down too much, but I'm trying to clear it so you guys can see, then you'll take a strawberry crown, and what I like to do is just look at it and cut off anything that's like brown and dead. I don't want to pull away too much. That one's green, I'll leave it. You don't want to pull away too much around the crown because you could expose it to various pathogens, fungi, rot. So just the really dead stuff. And then every strawberry has a way that it was sitting in the ground before it got uprooted as a bare root plant. So your goal here is to figure out what direction that is. Now, some of them will sit upright. A lot of them will lean. And part of the way that I figure that out is I'll set the crown on the top of the soil. If the roots stick out and I push them down and they stick out, then it's not sitting right. And if I turn it, You see how these roots lay? I'll show you. This way, if the crown was sitting like that, all these roots are sticking out. It doesn't want to sit that way. So this way, the roots kind of lay flat. It was probably growing that way to begin with. So try and find the angle at which it was growing prior. Then set the crown on the very top of this mound. And I'll push it down just slightly because the roots come up so high. I want to be able to cover them with the soil. And so I'll just kind of settle it all in there and spread these roots out so that they have more points of access for both anchoring and for going out and finding food and finding microbial partners to deliver food back. And finding water, to be honest. You don't want, if you were to plant a strawberry crown, like straight in a hole like that, all these roots are competing in the same couple inches of soil. This way, they're spread out over like 6, 8, 10 inches and can continue to grow in every direction, give you a higher chance of success with this berry. So now that its roots are all spread out, we'll take some more soil and we're just going to fill it and gently press. Do not pack. If there's one master lesson in gardening, particularly in containers, but also in beds, the more you pack the soil, the harder those roots have, the harder they have to work to get through the soil. So the slower they're going to grow, more or less. I mean, there's other factors involved there, but we don't want to pack it. And so then we're just going to bring it up to this fill line, which is the top of the container for the sake of this demonstration. And there you have it. You have the strawberry crown above the soil line, all the roots below the soil line. Obviously, those would be covered if the container wasn't missing its side, but just to show you guys. Now, sometimes you'll water it and this will sink down a little, or the soil around the roots might kind of rinse away. That's fine. Just put a little bit more soil to cover the tops of those roots. Just don't cover the crown of the strawberry, because what happens is if that crown sits in too much water, it's going to rot, and then you're not going to have any strawberry. The plant will die. So you want to keep this crown above the soil level as much as possible, the roots below it. The mounding helps to keep that crown above the soil level, because when you go to water or if you get heavy rain, it's going to pull everything down, but this is already sitting on a mound of soil and the roots have grown around that. And so it kind of creates this little strawberry island almost, so that everything's pulling down, and then the crown stays above, versus, again, this planted straight in a hole, the whole thing goes down as the soil line collapses, if the soil line collapses from watering. Now, we hydrated this to begin with so that when we water, there's already so much hydration on this medium, it shouldn't collapse as much as a dry medium. But if it does, just add a little more, make sure that the crown is above the final soil line, and then, mulch it well if you're outdoors. Now, if you have any questions or comments in this space, please hit me up on Instagram at FlavorKit. I also have a Patreon that I am becoming way more active on. It's at Veronica V. Flores on Patreon. We do weekly check-ins and updates there, and I have some other stuff planned if you want a little bit more Q&A assistance. And if you like these shorter sort of how-to things, then hit that subscribe button, ding that bell, and until next time, happy gardening.